Hello and welcome to Murder with Friends, the show where friends get together and talk about the darker sides of history. I'm your host, Grace Baldridge, and today I'm joined by some of my favorite friends who've been on this show before to do another campfire episode. The theme for this week is torture and execution. And before I turn it over to Amir, I would like to give a shout out to Elvier Tennick at Spadacene Guy, who suggested that we talk about Scaphism. It's pretty gruesome, would hate to go out this way with the emoji with the X things over the eyes. You gotta talk to me about this Scaphism.
Yeah, so this is honestly perhaps the worst way to die and just to get tortured. So anyway, Scaphism, also known as the boats, was an ancient Persian method of execution which is so drawn out and barbaric that you won't even believe what happened. So I'll actually read this ancient historian Zonaras. He explained what exactly Scaphism is because it's kind of weird to describe. So anyway, this is what he said, quote, "The Persians outvie all other barbarians in the horrid cruelty of their punishments, employing tortures that are particularly terrible and long drawn, namely the boats. What is meant by the boats, I must now explain for the benefit of the less well-informed readers."
Thank you.
So, two boats are joined together, one on top of the other. So, like, they fit like this. These are two boats. With the person...
Like rowboats?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like rowboats, with holes cut in them in such a way that the victim's head, hands, and feet are only left outside. So they're basically a boat sandwich, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Great.
And
just like that, Cece.
yeah. And once the person is put together, the boat's then nailed shut so they can't get out. And then, that's where the crazy part happens, they start pouring a mixture of milk and honey into the wretched man's mouth until he is filled to the point of nausea. Yeah.
Okay, wait, so just like a funnel into his mouth?
Yeah, they funnel...
Like force fed.
They force feed milk and honey.
Like foie gras?
Oh wait, it gets so much worse.
Yeah, up to the point where he's sick and he gets diarrhea from all that milk and honey. And then they start smearing his face, feet, and arms with the same mixture and then leave him out exposed in the sun. They push him out into the middle
like
of,
a swamp.
into a stagnant body of water or whatnot. And,
Like a swamp?
Yeah, like a swamp. With all of that put over his face and until he has diarrhea. And then this is repeated every day over and over, and the torture...
They pull him back in?
Yeah, they pull him back at the end of the day, and they force feed him again, and they push him back out the next day. And they keep doing this, and basically what happens, he starts shitting himself in this boat, and bugs and bees and everything start coming in, and they infest him, and they go inside of him.
And eat him from like the inside
and they
out.
eat him from the inside.
How long would it take for someone to die this way?
I think, so one historical account of this guy, his name was Mithridates. He was punished this way because he went against one of the Persian kings. He lived for 17 days until he died. And usually you die from sepsis.
What's that?
What is that?
Blood poisoning. You just get in so many infections because there's bugs going up your ass, into your eyes, into your mouth.
Oh my god.
That is truly a brutal way to die.
Yeah, so they
if
would
like
say...
you open the boat, it would just be like...
Yeah, it would just be a carcass of eaten flesh.
Oh
Well,
my god.
okay, so then what happens? This is probably a stupid question, but he's definitely not given a dignified burial after he's passed away. Is he just, the boat just set out into the swamp just to live there in the swamp?
Yeah, I'm guessing.
Okay.
But, I mean,
So
how do you even think of something like this? This happened, to give like a time period, it happened at least as early as 500 BC.
Oh.
So it was a really long time ago, but they have actual evidence of it happening to people, so.
Was it usually a punishment for treason? Or?
Yeah, it was saved for the worst crimes.
Okay, well, so that's what I wanted to get into. Saved for the worst crimes. This is definitely, I mean, this is, the Persian Empire. Treason is the worst crime you can commit because my brain went to, as I'm hearing about this, pedophilia. Like that, you know what I mean? That's
Oh, no, that was
encouraged. That's the
people
worst
were
crime.
pedophiles all the time.
Yeah,
back then,
I know,
like
I think that this is sort of an interesting element to this story and this torture method and this execution. It's sort of both. It's sort of combined into both. Is that the punishment doesn't fit the crime for me. And then taking it back to where we are today in the 21st century, a lot of times the punishment for someone who is a convicted pedophile doesn't really fit the crime.
Well, I think the death penalty for treason in, I might be wrong, England, wasn't abolished until 1998.
Yeah.
Yeah, punishment
So they
for treason.
mostly saved this punishment for the Greeks because the Persians and the Greeks were always at war during that point. So the guy that they did do it to, Mithridates, he actually killed the brother of the king that was set to be, so the brother of the king that was set to be the king of Persia, and he killed him by mistake. But then that meant the other brother.
How do you kill him by mistake?
It was during a battle. It was during a battle that like he shot him with an arrow by accident. But no one saw it. This is what the story is. And then he's like, "Thank you for killing my brother. Now I can be king. But you need to tell everyone that I actually killed him because it was more honorable that way." Anyway, this guy Mithridates got drunk one day and like told everyone that it was actually him. So he was like, "Oh, you fucked up," and then he gave him the boats.
I'm so disgusting because I'm like milk and honey. Yum.
Yeah, there's like the land of milk and honey. It's
The
right
land
there.
of milk and honey, but then you
But
think
that's why
about
it's so
like,
twisted.
and on top of that, you have to think like if that's going into your mouth, like you're throwing up too.
Yeah.
It's like not only are you
And it
pooping
prevents
yourself,
you-
you are vomiting in your
It's
mouth.
so
It
bad.
prevents you from dying of dehydration and starvation.
Yeah, that's the whole point. They want to drag it out as long as you can. Just you're out in the sun all day and bugs start coming and you can't get them off of you. They go into your eyes, they go into your mouth, then they go into the barrel and they go up.
What sort of due process of law are we talking about, though? There's
know,
no
this
way
was
that the boats was the first.
3,000 years ago.
Right, but I'm asking, did it seem as though he might have been put to some sort of a fair trial before, or were they just like, to the boats? Was that just to the, like, you did this?
the boats.
He was drunk, he said it, we know, to the boats.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that such a vicious way of torturing someone
How do you
was
come up with
taken
that?
on
I was gonna
lightly.
say, what is
How do
this
you come up
called?
with that?
Scaphism.
Yeah.
Do we know who
it's from the
invented
Greek.
it?
It's from the Greek term "scaph," which means to hollowed out.
Oh, okay, that makes.
So
I was
it's
like,
like a hollowed out
what is
boat.
that? What is
There
that?
were-
Sometimes they wouldn't even use boats; they would just use logs, like tree
God.
trunks, and they would put you in a tree trunk, which is the same thing.
Disgusting.
I mean, people sat around and like really thought about that.
Right. I'm also wondering, was this one of those executions as a form of entertainment? Because I can't imagine that it was, because it's
No,
not.
because it wasn't out like in the open where everyone can see. They would have to find a swamp or
and
something
that's what's
to do
that's
it.
what's interesting too, because we're going to get into some of the torture methods and execution methods that really were sort of designed as a form of entertainment.
Yeah.
You know, when they would burn people at the stake, people would gather to watch it. I don't even have to tell you about when people were hanged at the gallows. The gallows was basically like going
like
to
the hot spot.
Yeah,
like
it was
reality
the place
TV.
to be. It was
Yeah.
it was what was
It
on
was
that
right in the
week
middle
on
of
TV.
town. It was in the town square. Yeah.
Absolutely, and you brought it before quartering. What is it?
Drawn.
Hanged, drawn, and
Oh
quartered.
God, the worst.
Like
And
what
it
happened
doesn't
to Mel
seem
Gibson,
like
yeah.
the boats.
Bye, Mel. R.I.P.
In
baby.
Braveheart,
That is what happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
I've never seen that movie.
It doesn't seem like Scaphism was something that was created
No, it was
for
just
entertainment.
let's
So
come
that's
up with the worst thing that you can do to someone.
I
and
feel like out of all of the methods of execution and torture I've researched and read about and known about, that's probably
Yeah, I
the
probably agree.
one I'd last.
the least.
Yeah, if you know that these are the punishments you're gonna get, wouldn't you just try to be like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna try to attack a guard.
Oh,
and
I
have
was
him
gonna
kill
say,
me.
or
just,
like,
like,
yeah,
kill
exactly. I was gonna
myself.
say, I like hate saying that, but I was like, I would try to find a cliff
Yeah.
and be like, goodbye world.
Yeah.
But that's the human instinct to survive.
Well, of course.
Try to
Yeah,
drown
I would
yourself.
exactly. I think I would like attack a guard.
Yeah, because it's like at that point, like you're gonna get tortured and die, or you're just gonna die.
Now, was
Can
that
you hold your breath?
or like does that were women put through that, or was it mostly men?
From as far as like historical records go, it's only men.
Oh,
Women
never
weren't
know.
powerful
Oh, they
enough
had
to
other
commit
things
You
in
treason.
gotta
store
imagine
for
there's like
women.
hundreds of years that there's just very little records. So you gotta assume that
Yeah.
in those hundreds of years.
But you know what's
Dozens
interesting
of
about that?
people were
There
at
is
least
very
killed.
little record from this time, but they made damn sure that people knew about Scaphism.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
made real sure that they had some
Well, that's
even
one
vague
of those
form of
things that when
documentation.
you witness, it's gonna stick in your head for the rest of history.
Right.
Oh my
like, this
gosh,
is something
yeah.
like you can't unsee this. I'm
Yeah.
gonna write this down somewhere and make
These
sure that people
historians were
find
like,
it
yeah, we
2,000
came to
years
Persian
later.
lands and then we walked by the stagnant pool of water and we saw just like someone in a body screaming in the middle of a lake,
Oh
in
my
the middle of a pond,
Could you
with bugs
scream?
all over his face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then the bugs are gonna go in your mouth.
You
They're already gonna
start-
go up your nose,
You
though.
become
Oh.
delirious after about 2 or 3 days.
yeah.
Because you're just so fucked up from the pain.
I would like to think that when you are in that sort of pain, and I've heard of this taking place, where you sort of have an out-of-body experience,
Yeah.
and hopefully after the first initial terrible day
Your
of
brain has
pain,
to.
your brain sort of shuts off and
Yeah.
just
Yeah, that's how it copes,
It's
I
just sort of a corpse at that point. Hey, well, on that note, on that
Fun.
cheery note, you guys know what this show is about. Don't act shocked. In the comment section below, we'd like to hear from you. What is the most gruesome method of torture or execution that you have heard of? Don't forget to tweet us your thoughts and to subscribe to this channel. Oh, and we're also going to be sticking around, shooting the shit and talking a little bit more. So if you want to have access to that, head over to tytnetwork.com/join. And we'll see you next time on Murder with Friends.